dignitaries on the dais and off the dais, delegates from all over the country, research scholars, student friends, ladies and gentlemen. We all know that environment in simple terms means the surroundings or conditions in which persons, animals or plants lives or operates. There is a direct relationship between environment and economic development. Economic development without environmental considerations can cause serious environmental damage, in turn impairing the quality of life of present and future generations. World Commission on Environment and Development in 1987 for the first time defined the concept of sustainable development as meeting the needs of present generation without compromising with the needs of future generations. Objectives of my study: environment, economy linkages, impact of environmental degradation on society, link between biodiversity and climate change, challenges and strategies for sustainable development, important policy measures for sustainable development, suggestions and conclusions. Methodology: the study is based on information and data accessed from relevant national and international journals, reports and websites. Environment, economy linkages. All economic activities either affect or affected by natural and environmental resources. From this perspective, the productivity of an economic system depends on, in part, on the supply and quality of natural and environmental resources. Natural and environmental resources have three economic roles: waste disposal services, natural resources inputs into production, directly consumed life support services and authentic amenities. Economic management lays emphasis on the environment and the environmental quality, in turn on the efficient working of the economy. Environmental degradation imposes costs on the economy that results in output and human capital losses. The impact of water and air pollution is particularly adverse on the younger, the very aged and the poor. Pollution control is thus linked to sustainable development and not a luxury good to be afforded after the development process has taken off. Now we will concentrate on environmental degradation on society. Environmental degradation is the result of the dynamic interplay of socio-economic, institutional and technological activities. Environmental changes may be driven by many factors including economic growth, population growth, urbanization, intensification of agriculture, rising energy use and transportation. It has been estimated that the process of deforestation, bad soil and water management, submergence of and in dam reservoirs, industrial and urban expansion, organizing wind and water erosion, salination, flooding, water logging and so on contribute to a loss of productivity in roughly 1 million hectares of land annually. For instance, a report based on a comprehensive survey of people displaced by the Rihond Dam, that is Govind Vallabh Pant Sagar, UP, constructed during 1954 to 62, stated that many of the Woosties, particularly the tribals, have fallen into the typical cycle of debt bondage, coupled with increasing destitution and intermittent employment as contract laborers in coal mines and elsewhere. Most were simply eked out with nothing left to fend for themselves. Now we proceed to another important objective of my study, that is a link between biodiversity and climate change. This is very, very important. Climate change is affecting species already threatened by multiple threats across the globe. Habitat fragmentation due to colonization, logging, agriculture and mining, etc. are all contributing to further destruction of terrestrial habitats. Sea level rise engulfing low-lying areas, causing disappearance of many islands and extinctions of local island species. For example, tsunami in Japan in 2011, in 2018 in Indonesia and Chennai, recent floods in Kedarnath in 2013 and recently also in Kerala in 2018. Droughts and wildfires may increase. An increased risk of wildfires due to warming and drying out of vegetation is likely. Sustained climate change may change the competitive balance among species and might lead to forest destruction. Now we proceed to challenges for sustainable development. The main challenges for sustainable development are good governance, which is very, very important, such as political will to transform development programs into sustainable long-term practices, implementation, such as ensuring programs fit to the local context. That is very important, because a circumstance or a situation which is fit to the international level or may not fit to the national level, which is fit to the national level may not be fit to the local level. That's why the steps must be taken fit to the local context. In the local context, instability such as conflict between nations, climate change, energy consumption, waste production, threats to public health, poverty, social exclusion, management of natural resources, loss of biodiversity and land use. Becoming more responsible with regard to the future generations, promoting the precautionary principle, that is the polluter pays principle, and the general principle of responsibility, because those who pollute, they must be taxed. That's why polluter principle must be accepted by all, and the government should take all the government should take into consideration this point. General principle of responsibility is also very important, in addition to the polluter pays tax principle. Environmental responsibility, economic capacity and social solidarity areas must be handled equally. Incorporating sustainable development in all areas of politics, all activities, all processes in the city must be concentrated or concerned, because of our cities contributing a lot to pollution. When compared to rural areas, they are not polluting when compared to areas, they are very little when compared to the city pollution. Increasing the coordination between political areas and improving consistency and the political decision must be preceded by an early evaluation of social, economic and ecological consequences. Achieving the sustainable development objectives through partnership is very, very important. All institutional levels must work together constructively and fully assume their role as an interface with the civil society and the private sector, because government, the public and private partnership must be there in order to contain, that is to control the pollution in our country. And another important point is market-based approaches, which is very, very vital. Market-based instruments in the form of emission tax, pollution tax, marketable permits, depositor fund system, input taxes, differential tax rates, user administrative charges, subsidies for pollution abatement, equipment, etc. should be extensively used to protect environment. Regulatory policies, this is also very important. Regulatory policies for reducing environmental degradation. Regulators have to make decisions regarding price of quantity and technology. They decide the technical standards, regulations and charges on air, water and land pollutants. Public participation, which is very, very important, because without public participation, no program succeeds. That's why public awareness and public participation are highly effective to improve environmental conditions. For this purpose, various formal and informal education programs, environmental awareness programs, advertisement, public movements, afforestation, conservation of wildlife, etc. are to be organized on a larger scale. Trade and environment. The government should formulate an environment-friendly trade policy covering both domestic and international trade. We should encourage the establishment of less polluting industries, adoption of cleaner technologies, adoption of environment-friendly processes, etc. to control environmental degradation. Another point which to be taken into consideration is participation in global environmental efforts. Participation in various international conventions and agreements on environmental protection and conservation can also help to minimize the damages of environmental degradation. For example, Montreal Protocol, that is depletion of ozone layer. Regarding that, in Montreal, a conference was held. Basel Convention in Switzerland, it has taken place, and also Rio Declaration, the Agenda 21, the Earth Summits, etc. Renewable energy. Policies should be framed for the use of renewable energy like solar and wind in place of coal and petrol, because we cannot use the coal and petrol for a longer time because they get depleted and they will be exhausted. That's why renewable energy policies must be adopted. Atomic Energy Agency predicted that renewable energy would overtake natural gas to become the second largest source of power generation worldwide within 2 years, and that global wind and solar generating capacity would increase by more than 30%. Suggestions. Government should focus attention on blue economy. This is a recent phenomena to contain the environment pollution. Blue economy refers to the sustainable use of ocean resources for economic growth, improved livelihoods and jobs, while preserving the health of ocean ecosystem. The aim of blue economy is to shift society from scarcity to abundance. Blue economy helps in the sustainable harnessing of ocean resources such as marine agriculture, deep sea, long line fishing, biotechnology, etc. It is a good sign that Government of India has proposed an impressive 550 crore rupees in this budget, that is the recent budget 2019 and 20 under Sagar Mala program. This allocation was up from the last year budget of rupees 381.08 crore according to the revised estimates of 2018-19 budget. Strict implementation of environmental and pollution laws. There is no depth of laws. There are numerous laws relating to environmental pollution control in our country, but their enforcement is very weak. Hence, they should be implemented very strictly. Promoting clean and green campaign in our country is vital to reduce the effects of climate change ban polythene carry bags is very essential. Developing recycling methods of waste is essential to contain pollution. Save petrol and diesel by strengthening public transport system to save environment and foreign exchange. Planting more and more trees on war-foot basis is the need of the hour. Reforestation and stopping deforestation to increase groundwater level and the rainfall for irrigation. And another important point is the developing transportation system. Developing public transport system to reduce carbon dioxide levels in the atmosphere is very essential. And developing non-conventional methods of power generation like wind energy, geothermal energy, that is generating clean renewable energy from hot water sources deep beneath the earth's surface, thus converting earth into electricity, which is a latest method invented. Another one is the hydel energy, fuel cells. A fuel cell is an electrochemical cell that converts chemical energy from a fuel into electricity through an electrochemical reaction of hydrogen fuel with oxygen or oxidizing agents. And another very important thing is we are having the sun, almost all 365 days is very important to consider it to reduce the environmental conditions and our power necessities. Introduce a carbon tax method, that is, we need a major legislation such as putting a price on carbon, capturing carbon and reducing greenhouse gases emissions, and planting trees could help slow and eventually reverse global warming trends. Develop national renewable energy policy. Enact and deploy a comprehensive new energy roadmap with innovative renewable energy policies. In addition, set national renewable energy standards such as 20% by 2020, 40% by 2030, 100% by 2050. Electrifying transportation in order to reduce pollution levels in cities. That is, expediting a move to electrified transportation by encouraging expanded use of electric vehicles. It is a welcome sign that government of Telangana has electrical buses in Telangana Road Transport Corporation. Promote nuclear energy for clean and cheap power. We have to produce electricity through nuclear plants like France, where it is 75% of electricity is from nuclear energy only. Cheap and best and no pollution. That's why we have to consider promoting the nuclear energy for our power needs. Energy efficiency. Promote energy efficiency in the economy, notably in industry, transportation, buildings and appliances, to reduce the long-term damage for energy. Engage states, industrial companies, utilities and other stakeholders to accelerate energy efficiency investments such as large-scale nationwide use of LED lamps, etc. Utility scale projects. Plan the long-term phase out conventional energy subsidies and develop a long-term plan to replace fossil with utility scale renewable generation. Renewable innovative financing solution. Provide innovative financing, example, tax-free solar bonds or green infrastructure bonds. Create and fund a national smart infrastructure bank to accelerate local demand for renewable energy. Decentralized energy. Avoid future fossil fuel investments in India and instead emphasize nationwide deployment of community scale solar projects and microgrids with storage. Solar railways. India should also take advantage of the vast network of roads across India and the sun that beats down on them and turn them into energy creating solar super highways. The idea of solar panel roads is to replace traditional roads with glass based solar panels that you can drive on in a bid to turn roads into sources of renewable energy, which is the latest and recent invention and all over the world is thinking about these solar roadways. Promote solar vehicles. A solar vehicle is an electric vehicle powered completely or significantly by direct solar energy, usually photovoltaic cells contained in a solar panels convert this sun energy directly into electric energy. Transformation India into global solar manufacturing hub. For this purpose, establish research and development facilities within academia, research institutions, industry, government and private entities to guide technology development. Eco-friendly measures means minimal or no harm upon ecosystems or the environment. And coming to the conclusion, the United Nations estimates that India's pollution will reach 1.7 billion by 2050. In that case, the country is likely to face widening ecological deficit, even if its current per capita levels of resource consumption remain the same. Therefore, for Indian society to continue to prosper in an increasingly resource-constrained world, business and government leaders must work actively to protect the natural capital on which India's economy and all human life depends. Rapid environmental degradation that has been taking place all over the world in recent decades has alarmed economists and environmentalists alike. Fostering sustainable development requires the effective management of natural, human and physical capital. That is, machinery, buildings are computers. Human capital means. So, improved coordination across the countries to share the global resources, technology and scarce resource is a need of the hour. In the Paris Accord, government of USA skipped from its responsibility in attending the Paris summit in the name that we don't need of joining the Paris Accord, but it is the superpower which is to guide responsibility in reducing the global warming or global environmental degradation, but it itself is evading or escaping and by not attending the international conferences like Paris Accord. That means it is running away from its responsibility, which is not good for the whole world. Global level generosity in promoting and protecting democracy, exchange of technology, maintaining stability of prices in the various economies, judicious use of all environmental material throughout to enhance human development and sustainable development is the vital and is the need of the hour. Sustainable development can be achieved only if the environment is considered and improved. Thank you one and all for your patience and hearing to my lecture. Thank you once again.